Hello everyone. In the previous session, we tried to understand the coexistence of the self, I and the body in terms of needs. Let's continue with the same but in the terms of activities. And before moving in the detail of activities, firstly visit the diagram. Again, here we are. This is the diagram which we studied in the previous one lecture, but now we are going to study on the basis of activities and type, right? Desiring, thinking in I, self, and breathing, heartbeat in the body. That we will study in detail in the next slide. The activities of recognizing and fulfilling in the body. The activities like breathing, heartbeat, and many more are the activities in the body. These can also be understood as recognition and fulfillment, or you can say the mutual interaction between any two material entities. They interact with each other in a definite way. Let's have an example here. When you are thirsty, obvious what you want. You want to drink water. Then the body absorbs the water to the extent needed and uses for the nourishment of the various organs. The water has a definite relation with the body. In other words, the body recognizes its relation with water and fulfill it, means interact with each other in a definite manner. Activities: knowing, assuming, recognizing and fulfilling in the self in I, as you can see on the screen as well. The self, Jivna or I, which is a sentient entity, means conscious entity. In addition to recognizing and fulfilling, there are also the activities like assuming and knowing. In case of human being, recognizing and fulfilling depend upon knowing and or assuming. Let's firstly try to understand the assuming with the help of an example. Why so? Because examples are going to help us to understand in a better manner. A needle, you know needle, in Hindi it is known as a sui, koi bhi sui, patli wali lambi si. A needle is pricked into your body, then what will happen? If the needle is sharp, it will go inside. If it is blunt, it will not. This is recognizing and fulfilling at the level of the body. This is definite. What about I? If somebody tells you that the needle is a syringe, that person is a doctor and will cure you, and you will allow him to prick the needle in. But opposite to this, if you are told that the person with the needle will harm you and you will try to object to the extent, means you will use your full power to avoid, because you don't want to be pricked. You don't want to allow that one person to inject you or to harm you, right? But against your all wills, if that person manages to overpower you and poke the heading, it will still pass your body, right? What happens here? The recognition with the body is definite, but I's recognition about the needle depends on your assumption. When you assume that the person is a doctor and will help you, you will allow him to prick it in. That's your recognition and fulfillment. But if you assume that person will harm you, then you try to resist. Now, your recognition and fulfillment has changed. It's clear here that I's recognition and fulfilling changes based on assumption. But in case of the body, it is always a definite between material entities. The above activities we all do, whether we are aware or not. The another activity exists about which we are largely unaware, or you can say have not explored properly, but we can explore it via natural acceptance. Natural acceptance, you know very well, because we have studied many times now. That helps. Which one? Natural acceptance will help us to know what is true. True, but in reality. What is harmonious for us? That activity is known as knowing, means right understanding. In other words, the understanding of harmony at all the levels of living, right? This knowing in Hindi is also known as janana, right? When this activity of knowing is present there, then our assuming or assumption becomes on the basis of knowing, then it is definite. Or we can write like knowing leads to assuming, assuming leads to recognizing, and recognizing leads to fulfilling. As you can see on the screen as well, the activities of I are writing in the same order: knowing, assuming, recognizing, and fulfilling. Now, the types. It is a type of, right, understanding the self I as the conscious entity, yani non-material, the body as a material entity mentioned in the last part of the table, as you can see on the screen as well. Ask yourself a question now. Who is talking, seeing, thinking, recognizing, assuming, and so on? The answer will be natural or obvious. I, because it is I, Jivna, who's having the characteristic of being aware, means being conscious, known as consciousness or I am. This feeling of I am is the beginning to understand the consciousness, and this consciousness having the activity of knowing, assuming, recognizing, and fulfilling. On the other side, if we talk about the body, that doesn't have the activity of knowing and assuming, is not conscious entity, and having only recognizing and fulfilling activities can be called material entity, or you can say the conscious entity desire, thinks, selects, while the material entity just perform material activities. This material entity, also known as physico-chemical, which is its nature. Now it's also clear that I coexists with the body and keep exchanging information. Why so? Because without I, body is not having just nothing. Without I, body is nothing, and without body, I is nothing. That's why they are exchanging information with each other to a good survival, right? Let's look at some common activities, or you can say our daily activities, and see how we understand them in the context of self, I, and body. Variety of activities that we engage in commonly can be put in three categories: activities that are involved or that are going on in self I, activities that are going on in the body, activities involving both the self and the body. We all think this can be verified easily in each one of us. We also imagine. Let's try to understand this with the help of an example. You are sitting in the classroom and the lecture is going on. During the lecture, you hear something different, and suddenly that reminded of an incident that divert your attention from lecture to that incident, and you start thinking about it and spend few minutes there on imagining and thinking as well. After some time, your attention shifts back to the class, and the teacher is standing at your desk and asks, "Where were you?" Means physically you were there in the class, but mentally you were not there. It happens with everyone, wherever you are, even sometimes at home as well. You are sitting in front of TV watching your favorite program, or working on your computer. Your mother called you twice for help or some other task, right? But because you are busy and you are imagining and thinking, that's why you didn't have any reaction. With the help of these two examples, it's very clear that we are fully engaged in activities in ourselves, in I. We are lost in thinking and imagining, or thinking or imagining, without getting disturbed from the inputs of the body. If we observe ourselves more deeply during the driving or riding, this may also happen. When we reach our destination, we are surprised. We are already here. The activities that take place in I are understanding, desiring, analyzing, imagining, and choosing. These are the activities that are going on is in us every time or all the time. But we are usually unaware. But when we pay attention, then we can easily get aware that these are those activities which don't require the participation of the body. Even when you are sick, the activity of thinking doesn't stop. You don't think less or more based on the hunger. Your capacity of imagination doesn't change even when you are lying in a hospital bed. You think and imagine a lot more here in the hospital as compared to home. Why so? Because there is nothing much to do. This makes us clear that these are those activities which are going on in the self, in I, and not dependent on the state of the body. Now, let's try to understand the activities involving both the self, I, and the body. Earlier, we understand the activities that only take place in I, but there are some activities that we do in which both I and body are involved. Take the example of eating. I first decide which food to eat, then the choice to take food inside. Obvious. If the food is just placing in front of you on the table, you have to use your body parts or some other body parts to put it in the mouth. Obvious. Then what you are going to use? You are going to use your hand to carry the food to the mouth so that you can chew the food and swallow it. Here, both I and body involved. I made the choice. The body is used to carry out the food. Now, the question arises, who enjoys the food or tasty food? Me, the self, I, or the body? Obvious, the self, I, that gets the taste of the food, enjoys the food, right? In walking, running, studying, doing my household chores, both self, I, and body are involved. Means decision and choices are made in I and carried out via body. And what about listening? When we listen, what is involved? I or the body? Or both? Think about it. You can think now itself, or even then you can pause the lecture and think about it. Just think about it. Okay, let's try to understand with the help of example here again. Your father asks you to get him a glass of water, but you are busy solving your math problems, or you can say busy in your work. Body has received the words, not I. That's why you don't respond. Body has done its participation, but I, self-participation, is still awaiting where the meaning is involved. And it is proved that for listening, both I and body are involved. Same with the activities like tasting, seeing, or smelling. Basically, in these above activities that we discussed just now, the involvement of sense organs is very important, as well the work organs like hands, mouth, or legs. Let's have another example to make it understand in a more clear manner. Walking. That doesn't happen, but only when I choose to walk. Even how much means the distance to be covered, how fast, and when to stop, all decided by I and then instructed to the body. You can yourself observe this. Even no one can force you to walk. If I means you, not your body, your I, has not decided to walk, even the speed also. Therefore, it's all about paying attention. Whenever we are going to pay attention, easily we can find and understand it, right? With the understanding of distinction between eye and body, it becomes possible to understand these kind of the activities like seeing, walking, smelling, listening, and many more, in which both eye and body involve and require my active participation, right? These are not happening themselves. I is responsible, right? Now let's try to understand the activities that are going on in the body. Basically, the body is a set of self-organized activities, means these activities that are done, or you can say going on in itself with the consent of I. The activities or the functions like breathing, digesting, blood flow, heartbeat, and so on, right? We can also call this as bodily function, or the activities just going on in the body. Just observe it. Breathing, the first example is mentioned on the screen as well. Breathing, which is going on in itself without taking your consent. You don't have to bother here. Yes, one thing you can do, that is you can choose to stop breathing when you want, means paying attention kind of the activities. Digesting, you can take care of your food intake but not the digestion. The same with the blood flow, heartbeat, and many more. Take the example of blood flow. You are not going to check what kind of the how the blood is moving in your body, how the heartbeat is going on. Heartbeat, yes, but one thing you have to take care, when your heartbeat is getting faster, then you have to get it mentioned and take it seriously, right? The rest one thing, normal heartbeat, it's okay, right? Each one of us can easily verify this. Our role is to pay attention to it, to do this one task, right? That's it. That don't require my active participation. You don't need active participation. What the things are going on in your body, it's okay. Now let's have exercise to distinguish the needs of self, I, and body, right? Activities we have already make it clear by reading all these previous one session. Now we have to understand the needs, that what kind of the needs related to body and related to I, right? Firstly, observe the table which is on the screen as well and try to solve it by yourself. As you can see the table, the first one in the table is nice looking car, which is the need of I. Why so? Because car, I want, I means nice looking car, right? I want, because I want to, just whenever I am going to sit in the car, it's going to be look nice, so that my personality is also getting improved, right? The next one is car for transport. Obvious, the car for transport is for the body, for the right utilization of the body, right? Food, obvious, body, because that nourishes the body. Now tasty food, obvious, the tasty food is required by I. Why so? Because taste is related to I. Yeah, one more thing is there, nourished food can also be tasty. Trust, obvious, Vishwas is related to I, right? Why so? Because one thing is there, it can be expressed through the body. Happiness is also related to I, but we can try via bodily sensation. Knowledge, it is also required by I, and body is used to just to be an instance, so that you can tell the people that you are full of knowledge. 50 lakh rupees, what do you think? Related to body or related to I, right? Yes, it is related to both body and why, because it can be used to have anything, as we see on the table as well. Nice looking car and car for transport. If you want to a car for transport, 50 lakh rupees can help you, right? And the nice looking car, it is for I, and you can purchase, right? Means you can use for the both one, I and the body as well. The next one is love. Love need by or related to I and can be expressed through the body. The next one is good health, right? Good health. Good health. Good health. Obvious, the body, right? The body required the good health. The next one is prosperity. Prosperity means more than required physical facilities. Obvious, body has already required physical facilities more than that related to I. And the last one, MBA. If you are a student of MBA, you can easily understand. If you are planning to do an MBA, it's okay. Otherwise, everyone can understand it. It is related to both body and I, right? If it is for learning, respect, and so on, then it is for I. And if it is for ensuring physical facilities, then it is for the body, right? And now this is the table which is going to help us to distinguish the body and I on the basis of needs. Activities we have already discussed in the previous slide, right? I think with this exercise mostly things are clear, and that's all for today. Bye bye and thanks.